Ballet folklorico is one of the oldest cultural art forms in Mexico, which represents every region in the country throughout the dances and stories are conveyed in the performances. Hello, my name is Vanessa Cruz, and today I will be speaking to you guys about one of Mexico's most beautiful art form, which is ballet folklorico. I will be speaking about this topic because the majority of the students in this class are of Latin or Hispanic background and have probably seen or heard some type of ballet folklorico. Not necessarily Mexican folklore, but as well as some other type of folklore from other Latin or Hispanic countries. I also feel qualified to speak about this topic because I used to be a dancer myself. I began dancing when I was about 5 or 6 years old up until August of 2016. In this speech, I will address the history of folklorico and how it came to be, as well as one of the first persons to form the largest folklorico groups in Mexico, Amalia Hernandez. Lastly, I will address the differences between some of the dances of different regions from Mexico. The word ballet folklorico translates to folk dancing in English, and as I mentioned before, it is one of Mexico's oldest cultural art forms. Although it does not have a specific date that indicates of when it exactly began, it dates way back to before the conquista occurred. Before the conquista, many of the indigenous tribes had their own folk dances that they used in order to tell a story or to please their gods and goddesses. These folk dances did not have any Spanish influence over them, seeing as they existed before the conquista. An example of this would be La Danza del Venado, in which the Yaqui indigenous tribe danced in order to reenact the hunting of the white-tailed deer in what is now Sonora, Mexico. But after the conquista, the Spaniards began bringing in their traditions into the indigenous culture. They began to implement their form of dancing into the indigenous dances, which became the folklorico dances that are now present. According to the Revista Harvard Review of Latin America, it is the converging forces of nationalism, mestizaje, and indigenismo, meaning that ballet folklorico incorporates a mixture of European, indigenous, and African cultures into the dances, but some still preserve their indigenous roots. However, these are not the only events that contributed to the creation of the ballet folklorico dances. Many of the dances were created during the Mexican Revolution, such as El Jarabe Tapatío, which represented liberty and patriotism for the Mexicans during the revolution. Although folklorico was already a type of cultural art in Mexico, there were no actual groups that individuals could join and learn to dance. The first person to create the biggest and most famous folklorico groups was Amalia Hernandez. She was born in Mexico City in 1917 and became a Mexican folk dancer herself, as well as a choreographer. In 1952, she funded the biggest folklorico company, which was the Folklorico de Mexico de Amalia Hernandez. The article Amalia Hernandez was founder of Ballet Folklorico de Mexico describes how the company was initially formed with only 8 members in the group, but as those 8 members made appearances on weekly television programs in the 1950s, they became more known and gained more members as well. As more and more people joined the group, it eventually gained more than 300 members. Since the group was too large for all of them to perform all at once, half was sent on tour to perform while the other half stayed in Mexico to perform at the Palacio de Bellas Artes in Mexico City. Unfortunately, Amalia Hernandez passed away on November 5th of 2000, but she is still seen as a very fundamental part in the arts of ballet folklorico. Now the company is directed by her 2 daughters, Viviana Basantes and Norma Lopez Hernandez, her son Jose Luis Martinez, and grandson Salvador Lopez. When it comes to ballet folklorico, many people think of the mariachi music with charros and very flowy, colorful dresses. But these, but there is more to it than just one type of dance, which is Jalisco. All of the dances from every region in Mexico differ in many different ways. They all require different music, instrument, dance steps, costumes, and accessories. The article Mexico, the Other Melting Pot describes the differences between the many dances from the different regions. For example, the dances from the north, such as Nuevo León, are danced in a polka, waltz, and chotis styles, while in the east side, like Veracruz, the style that is danced are bambas and huapangos. The costumes also differ. In Nuevo León, the men wear leather fringed vests or coats, boots, bandanas, and cowboy hats, and women wear short skirts with long sleeved blouses with ribbon details. While in Veracruz, men wear white guayabera pants and shirts, red waist sash, and straw hats, and women wear white lace dresses with their hair up in buns, with combs, rebosos, and fans. In conclusion, ballet folklorico is considered to be one of the oldest forms of art in Mexico, in which we learn that they are dances that have been created by implementing different styles of dances from the indigenous, European, and African culture, thus creating a whole new form of art and dance style that is now part of the Mexican culture. Even though it had been there for a while, we learned that Amalia Hernandez was the first person to actually form a group of dancers that performed the traditional folk dances. Lastly, we learned the differences between two of the many dances that make up the art of ballet folklorico, that represent the country of Mexico in a very unique and beautiful way through the stories and dances that are conveyed. Thank you.